say your name?
Julie Fernandez.
Awesome. How's your day today?
Good.
So,
Quiet.
quiet.
Quiet so far.
Can you just start with telling us a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. It. I have very little memory of it. I think what I remember some of the good parts, but I have a lot of the bad memories. So it's hard to remember all the good stuff. But my childhood was like, I'm from New York originally. I have two brothers, so it's three of us.
Yeah.
Mom and dad, and there was just always a lot of conflict in the house. But it was a really big family, big Catholic family, and so I remember there being a lot of people around. There were a lot of parties, but I remember like dad wouldn't come home a lot, and it was like normal. That was just like the thing. And then my dad moved us to Florida away from the family, and that was like really difficult when I was 9. So I fell into like a deep depression because I was no longer with people in my family. So we were in Florida for a while, and that's kind of where I realized like how difficult life was because there was a lot of sexual abuse that continued during that time. But it made me realize that I was already experiencing that when I was in New York. But I thought that was normal. So I don't know. I was just a very shy, quiet girl and like always like just afraid to talk to people, and I didn't understand why until then, like when we moved to Florida and like random strangers were abusing me in these ways. Like I was like, whoa, my step grandfather does that to me. I know that's wrong, so that must be wrong too. So it was just full of all of that. And then like my brothers kind of didn't like me, so they were always like beating me up and stuff. So it was just very weird. I wasn't very happy.
Even during all that, did you have any dreams or aspirations as a child?
Yeah, I mean my dream. Well, it's cute because it's like still like a secret dream. Like I would love to be like a Broadway star, although I'm not creative in any way and I'm not talented in any way. So, but that was always what I wanted to do as a kid. I wanted to be like a gymnast, a ballerina, or like an actress. I wanted to like perform. I wanted to dance and sing and just like be free. That felt so free to me, or that looked so free. So I wanted to do that, but then when I got really serious about it, I was just like, I gotta get out of this life. It's like I'm gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. So I got really serious about it, and that's kind of where the trajectory took. Like I went down that path, even though I'm not there right now, but it's fine.
Would you mind telling us a little bit more about your relationship with your dad and how that felt in general?
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult. It's still hard because I don't have a real relationship with him currently. I think about him a lot, but I don't know what to do about it really. It was hard because he was in and out of jail most of my life, and there's a lot of drugs, and I think there was like sexual abuse, like allegations and things like that. But I was too young to understand it really. I just knew like my dad wasn't around, and he was mean, and I was scared of him. And then like the drug stuff, like when I started to understand more, like I understood like drugs are bad. But I don't know, it was just like he left when I was 13. He got deported back to Dominican Republic. So I didn't really see him for a very long time. In 2013, I went to go visit him. I think I had like a dream, and like I was like, he's sick and he needs me. And then he like reached out one day, and he was like not so well. And then I have a little sister and a little brother there, and I was like, I should go meet them. So I went to go see them, and that was really lovely, and I felt like we were turning like a leaf. But then when I came back to New York, I was living in New York at the time, he just would reach out, and like he was just not very nice to me. Like he was upset that I was not married yet and I didn't have kids, and like what's wrong with me. And that just wasn't nice to hear. So I avoided talking to him as much as possible.
How would you say your relationship with him felt, if you could sum that up?
It was just like sad. Like I was hurt because I was craving that connection. And I think when I was younger, I wanted that so badly, like daddy-daughter relationship. And so I would get really sad when I would see like a dad with their daughter. And so just, I think there's just a lot of sadness that comes up with that.
What about your relationship with your mom? How was that and how did that feel?
That's a hard one because my mom, I loved my mom and I was so attached to her, and she was my best friend for a very long time. But I didn't realize how much a part of the abuse she was. And so when I did realize that in my late 20s, I got very angry with her. And so my relationship has been kind of strained with her because of it, because I had to learn to forgive and understand and all of that. And so I'm still trying. Like, we have a good relationship now. Like, we talk all the time, and I do love her, but I have a hard time opening myself up to her as much as I want to. Like, I would love to like hold her and hug her and tell her I love her, but I struggle with that a little bit.
How does that feel?
It hurts. It's sad.
What would you say you learned from your parents?
Kind of like what not to do. Yeah. To like protect your children no matter what, to believe them no matter what. Like, even if you're scared, like, your children come first, for sure.
Can you tell us about your first love and how that felt? It can be a person, it can be a hobby, it can be whatever you associate with being your first love.
That's a good one. Wow. I think really was, I had a best friend for about 20 years, and she was like my world. She was the first person who like believed me that I was going through all the things, and we were young. She wasn't doing anything for me. Like, she wasn't helping me get out of it. But to know that somebody's there for you and like loves you through it, like, that was really powerful.
Can you tell us about your first loss or heartbreak? It can be a person, event, whatever you associate with that, and how that felt.
I mean, the first one that I acknowledged, I think, is the same best friend when I lost her. That was really difficult. It was just a very toxic relationship. I think that she had her own issues, and she needed more from me than I could give and expected so much. But for her, I think that for her to feel okay, I had to stay small. And so I struggled with that and just became more and more like ill, just like more depressed and more just like not feeling good internally.
And how'd you get out of that?
Out of that feeling, I learned to love myself and like trust that I'm worthy, that I'm valuable, I matter, and it's okay to be big.
How do you show yourself that you love yourself?
Oh, all the little things, right? Like getting enough sleep and drinking water and eating meals and wearing like my favorite things and just taking care of myself like that. And that's something I learned not that long ago, that I realized like it's not enough to say you love yourself, like you actually have to do it.
What's love to you now versus what it was compared to you when you were a child? How do those two different loves feel?
And love, when I was a kid, I think was just you be there. Like, you're my mom, you're my dad, so you love me. And now it's like, no, like you actually have to, it's an action. Like, you have to show that you love somebody, like being there for them and respecting and caring and just like there's a connection, there's communication, like there's so much that goes into it. It's not just I'm here, I love you.
Can you tell me just about a general good day for you, and how's that good day look like for you?
I have so many good days. Like, any day really could be a good day. Like, I feel like I've learned so much about myself, and that like it doesn't take much, and I appreciate all of the little things. Like, feeling the sun. Like, I'm just so giddy. So, like, I love the sun, and there's flowers and trees, and if there's like people and they're smiley, and like that's just a really beautiful day. It's almost like I feel like a cartoon character sometimes because I get so happy over like the smallest things. So every day is really a good day, and then they might bring some challenges, but it's still a good day.
What about a bad day for you? And in that bad day, how do you push through it?
Yeah, bad days usually when I feel like emotionally overwhelmed. While I might like spiral and like old wounds come up or insecurities and stuff, and those are really hard. And I just have to love myself through it. So on those days, I'm extra kind and I take time to either be by myself if that's what I need, or surround myself with people that I love um, and are kind and gentle with me. So it can look different.
What are two things? It can be an event or it can be people that have shaped you, good or bad. How does it feel when you reflect on those things or people?
Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's interesting because I don't. One of the most important people in my life that I didn't really know, or she didn't do it on purpose, but one of my college professors, like she really helped me take a turn. I was just suffering with depression so much and just like not, I just was not okay. And I didn't know because that was my whole life. So I didn't know that it could be different. And she just like was lovely. Like she just communicated with me. And I think it was the first time that I felt seen. It was the first time I felt heard. And she gave me a book to read. I don't even remember the book, but it was like a really small thing about like hope, and it gave me hope, and like I started to feel something different inside, and she was just so kind. It was just through her kindness that really just changed my life, because it was ever since then that I started to have hope that like it can be different, and I started seeking other things, other books and other practices, and just like spending more time with myself to understand myself a little bit more.
What are some of the things you found while you were seeking?
About myself?
Just what you find.
I mean, life. Yeah. I realized that I was living in a bubble, and it was like a bubble full of like hatred, like self-loathing, and so much hurt and abuse and hopelessness, and I couldn't see anything past that. It was very much like victim mentality. And so when I started seeking, like I realized that there's more life out there than just this. And I think that was actually like when I first started to like recognize like trees. And I remember I saw a tree and I'm like, what is that? Like, that's been here this whole time. Like
so
I
what
would
do you see when you see a tree?
Beauty. I mean, I look at the leaves, the different shapes and different colors, the way that they move, and then there's like the energy. I can feel it, and it's just very beautiful.
What's been a humbling experience for you, and how did that experience feel?
I think that everything I went through in life, like all the abuse and all the hurt, was very humbling. Brings me back to like earth. I think more recently though, like thinking about, or what comes to mind is like a recent heartbreak that I had. That I think I thought I was like high, like flying high, and everything's good, and I did my work, and I'm so much better. But then it just made me realize like, whoa, there's so much more to be done. And especially like around the self-love piece, like I realized like, no, you need to love yourself more. Like you definitely love this guy more than yourself. And that was like a big like humble moment. Just really brought me back down to earth, for sure. Like dragged me to earth.
I mean, I think we've all been through breakups what when you're in that spot, like when that emotional state where you feel like shit for the most part, right? Um, how'd you how'd you persevere through that? What was some of the self talk? What was some of the things you used to get out of that and not hold on to any hate?
Mm-hmm. Uh, love yourself through it. That was like my hashtag, love yourself through it. Like, this is hard. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you love yourself? Like, he didn't love you enough. How are you going to love yourself more? And then also, I think it was just like, you are worthy. You deserve better. You didn't deserve that. Like, I would just kind of remind myself that, like, he just, it was him who, he fucked up. Right? Like, he messed up. He hurt me. And it was hard because there was a long time where I thought I deserved it. And, like, I wasn't good enough. No wonder why he doesn't love me. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not lovable. And so I would go down that path. But then there's like a dead end at some point where it's like, all right, what are you going to do about this? And then I just had to remind myself, like, no, that's not true. Like, he's an asshole. He fucked up. Like, he'd be lucky to have you. And he was. Or like, you'll find somebody else. And maybe it just didn't work. I don't know. So there's a lot. Like, it's been a long time, and it's still like a thing that I have to remind myself of. Because I have my insecurities come up like here and there. It's much less, thank God, but it still comes up.
What reminds you, or what lets you know for a fact that you have intrinsic worth?
I could feel it. I'm also like human. We all do. Like, we are born with that. And that's what I have to remind myself. Like, if I can so see that in somebody else, then what makes me different? And I can see that in everybody. Like, everybody, even him who hurt me and everybody else who hurt me. Like, you are valuable, you are worthy, like, you're great. Like, there's no like hatred there. There's only love for everybody, no matter what they did to me. But like, it was hard to find that for myself. And so I started to work on seeing myself the way that I see others, and even like see myself the way that others see me, because that was also a really big realization that I realized, like, I wasn't seeing myself the way others were.
Go in your mind and think, this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
War? It's internal war. Yeah. Man, that's like my whole life. Yeah. There's no one event that comes to mind. And I think that, I mean, maybe the more recent experience, right, with this breakup, there was an internal war because all of my old stuff came up. All of the times that I hated myself, that I thought I deserved to be abused in that way. I deserved all of that. I'm ugly, I'm fat, like all of the things. And it just like came back. And so here's like the healed me who's like, no, and you know better, and like, you are worthy and you're great. And then there's the other one that's like, no, we're awful, and all of this. So it was just very much like an internal battle. It felt very much like a war.
How do you navigate that?
It's the like, listen to those voices, all of them, and then like let it settle and find the truth. And truth is, I am loved, I am love, I am worthy, and all is good.
So same type of question. Go in your mind and think, this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate to the word peace.
Now, I remember like 6-7 years ago, I was like standing in my kitchen, and I was like doing something. I think I was like cooking something. But I don't know why that stands out to me so much, because all I kept saying was, I just want to feel peace. I just want to feel peace. And I was home alone, but there was so much happening inside that it was just like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And there, I don't know that there was anything particular like going on at that time, but I just knew like inside it didn't feel peaceful. And and like I think back to that moment because right now my life is so different and all I do feel is peace. There's this stillness, this quiet inside. Um, and that's like the foundation. Like I live in that place now. And so when there is discomfort, when there's like overwhelm that comes through, like it's easier to navigate because now peace is the solid foundation.
How'd you come about that realization?
Of peace. I think it's when I have those moments of like when you realize that you're so small in this big world. So like hiking, right? Like or when I'm like on a mountain or when I'm looking up at the stars or the sky, right? And you see like the world is so much bigger. And I feel myself sitting or standing wherever I'm at, and I just like it's just like feeling that there's so much more out there. And then like when I come into my body, I feel what it feels like I'm thinking of like looking up at the stars. Like it feels so peaceful up there. And then I feel the same thing in my body. Like I feel connected in that way. So in those moments, like I'm reminded of it, or like I think it's more of like a reminder of like, yeah, we're in peace now.
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life, how it felt and how you endured?
Like a long period of my life, like dealing with all of the abuse. You know, as a kid, I mean, obviously being scared, and I remember like telling my mom after each time, and she never did anything about it, like every time, and then it just continued, and it just became like a pattern, and so it was just like every week was just expected, and like I would be hurt and sad and scared, but then like it continued again. Like I don't know, like I'm just thinking about like that period of my life where like it was just like constant abuse. And that was very difficult. Kind of just kept going. I didn't know what else to do.
Can you tell us about a truly joyous moment in your life and how that felt?
There's so many. I'll tell you about a recent one. I went skydiving recently, and that was incredible. One thing I struggled with for most of my life is like having my insides match my outsides. So like usually like when I was younger and going through the abuse, like inside I was really hurt and like devastated, but on the outside I had to pretend like everything was great. And then as I got older, like I felt really good inside, but I didn't know how to express that on the outside. So it kind of like switched. And so that's kind of been the biggest struggle as an adult is like, how do I get my insides to match my outsides? And because I've been so joyful lately, like I've been feeling so good internally, I never knew how to express that on the outside. Like I have my moments and like we're all like, I'll dance or I'll paint or I'll do something and it somewhat expresses what I feel on the inside. And when I went skydiving, that was the first time in my life that I ever experienced where like my insides matched my outside. Where like I'm so joyful and full of life and fun and play and like just so much excitement. And I was finally able to express that like fully on the outside. And like that day just changed my life where I'm like, wow, it's really possible. And I want to live my life every day like this. It was just the most joyful ever.
What would you say, since there's no getting around the current affairs, what would you say 2020 has taught you thus far?
To be comfortable with uncertainty, for sure.
What keeps you up at night?
All the thoughts. Lately, it's been the happy thoughts.
Yeah.
Lately, it's like all of the fun things I'm looking forward to and all of the amazing things that are currently happening also just like remembering like how different I am compared to like a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 6 years ago. Like my life is so different, and I find myself like thinking about all of that and just being so grateful and appreciative. It's wonderful, except when I'm trying to sleep. So it's like, how do I find a happy balance?
What keeps you going every day?
um, like hope, right? Hope that I can make a difference in the world, in my own life, in my immediate circle's life, and yeah, and hope for like a better world. Like I'm excited to see what's to come,
We all are. We all
right?
are. Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets, if any?
I don't have regrets. I try to live my life taking as much risk as possible and being vulnerable. I'd rather be vulnerable and get hurt and feel that pain for a moment than to feel regret for a lifetime. Just very, I don't think that I regret anything.
You told me what your dreams were as a kid. What are your dreams now?
I feel like I'm living my dream. I, I'm doing work that I'm really passionate about, and like are surrounded by amazing people in my life, and I think that that is my dream. I think what's also really difficult too, I realized when I turned 30, or as I was turning 30, because I never thought I would get there.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like I never thought 30. Like I hoped for it, but I didn't think it was real. So when I finally got to 30, I was like,
You might live a little bit longer.
yes, I
than
was
you
like, what am I
thought.
gonna do? I don't have a plan. I don't
Exactly.
know. I didn't have a future plan. Like I didn't think about this.
Yeah.
So I've been like thinking about like what could the future hold? I don't know. And I'm still kind of figuring that out. It's been a few years.
What type of work do you do?
I'm a trauma therapist. So, a somatic trauma therapist, I do body based work. So, I love working with the body. I love doing like dance, creative movement, incorporating some kind of martial arts in there. Like yoga is really lovely. And so, just help people recover from their traumas using body based modalities.
You're the co-author of your life, but what's your picture perfect ending?
Mm. I do want a family. I want a family. I want to have children. I want to have grandchildren. And I think that's it. I just see a lot of children around.
Uh-huh.
I want babies and puppies.
How does that scene look like if you can envision a scene where it's like, man, this is everything I've ever wanted?
Okay. So maybe like we're in a house. There's a house, a big backyard. Maybe there's a lake back there. But you also see the mountains in the background, and then the sun and the moon, all of it, because I love it all. And then the kids are just playing in the backyard, right? Maybe even in the water, like
How
splish
does that
splash.
moment feel?
Oh, it feels so lovely. Like I can feel this like fullness in my heart, and like it's like pulsing, it's like radiating, like bursting out. Just happy. My heart is smiling.
Perfect. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
It's awesome.
That's it.
It was exciting.
That's it. That was